Hello everyone and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be doing 2 sketchbook tours instead of 1, mostly because I've already recorded this one. But 1, it was like an hour long, and 2, the audio was so bad that I had to re-record it. So we are going to do it again and hope that the audio sounds better. So we're going to try to breeze through these. Neither of these should take particularly too long. If anything, the combined sketchbook tour should be the length of the one that was just for this. I thought I had also already done this one, but then I realized, no, I actually finished this a lot later than I thought I did. So this is sketchbook number 5, and this one is sketchbook number 6. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're skipping the first page because I did that one a little bit later. So this one is the first piece I actually did. I did it back in September. This sketchbook was started September 6th. It's just a simple landscape. It was something I did while I was painting with my friend at the coffee shop. I usually skip the first page, mostly because I usually start my sketchbooks when I'm with my friend at a coffee shop. And because I hate waiting for paints to dry, and I like to work at multiple paintings or at least complete a spread, I usually skip the first page, which is the reason I skipped the first page for this. And why it took me forever to go back to it, because I hate waiting. Watercolor is just a waiting game. And usually I have multiple sketchbooks to work in, and I had both of these there at that coffee shop. It just took me forever. But yeah, I like this one. This was the first time I used my ultramarine set, and I think the colors look quite nice in this sketchbook. This is where I learned that the yellow is not as vibrant as I would like. It takes a bit to activate it. This part is not supposed to be there. I will show you where that comes from later, but I like the vibrancy of these colors. This is where I learned that they're very cool colors because they're ultramarine. This is just a Pikmin drawing. I, for some reason, really wanted to draw Pikmin. I think I really like the shades of green in that ultramarine set, so this is what I did. And I think I had some leftover paints as well, because this shading looks like leftover paint colors from a different paint session that I did. This is actually the painting that resulted in that previous spread having this random bleed spot. The colors just bled in between. That is something that you have to keep in mind with these kinds of, the way these are bound. And it happens even in my Arctic's sketchbook where it also bleeds through and you see it, just not as bad. But that's something to keep in mind with these hand bound, that if you're not careful, it will bleed to the other page. But this was just a simple doodle, not too much going on here. Now on to the next page, where I was using a different set of handmade watercolors. This is my favorite set of handmade watercolors. You've seen in my 2025 year review, I talk about that palette that I have set up. I haven't actually used it at all this year. I think ever since I got my Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints, I have not actually picked up this watercolor set. I have to go back to them, but I've just really been into that and the convenience of that, but I'll come back to them eventually. But I really like this. The shimmer is so nice, and I love the birds. I think actually the way the watercolor is melded together and made like actual, it looks like it actually has some depth and shading that was unintentional there. I like it. It came out a lot nicer than I was expecting when I first went into this. Makar and Metley from Wind Waker. I actually really like this. I just felt like drawing Makar, and I just felt like drawing Metley, and this is what happened. I'm actually kind of surprised because I did this without a reference, so quite happy that I remembered what they look like, because I looked afterwards and I was like, is this accurate? It was. I did a decent job with them. This is also kind of semi-dubbed the Illume book. Mostly because I draw her a lot in here. Illume is my bunny D&D character. She is very sweet. She loves rainbows. She loves pastel colors. And when I don't know what to draw, I default to just drawing bunnies, and most of the time it ends up looking like Illume. So that's really what's happening here. And then this is Chu, her bear friend. And a lot of the characters in this D&D campaign have animal association, so the snake is Darius. You've seen me draw him a couple of times, paint him a couple of times. And this little blue bird up here is Genesis. And another Illume piece. This looks... Okay, we'll flip it over to this side, because this looks more like a whale than a shark. It's supposed to be a shark. This is supposed to be Miska, who is her shark friend. But it looks a little bit more like a whale to me right now. Illume Came out very cute. I think she looks great. And this is Kirby. If you know me, you know I love Kirby. This is actually based on my desk mat. You can see that there. And this other one is also based on the Kirby over there that you can't see. That this is my painting desk mat, so it is quite dirty because my paints have gotten all over it. I have another one of the same exact desk mat that is clean, and I replace them when I'm painting. But yeah, I just had some leftover paints, and I love this shade of, I guess, coral. It's a very nice color, so I decided to paint Kirby. And some roses. I like this color palette. I'll have to come back to it. I just threw some paint down and said, okay, what do I see in here? And I decided to draw some flowers, so that's really all there is for this. Same thing with this one. Put some paint down, said, what do I see? And then drew, I guess, a cacti, some sort of succulent, I don't know. And then this one is just a little birdie that I did at a coffee shop. Unfortunately, I did it when I only had one side available. I didn't think about that when I went to the coffee shop. And I went there and I saw that, and I was like, dang, I did not plan accordingly. But overall, I think it's cute. Obviously, I feel like I needed to go back and do another layer so that he looks a little less creepy. I feel like the eye just looks a little bit weird in this. It looks unfinished, but it's a sketchbook. It's fine. I really like this color combination, which is the reason why you see it here. I really like this green, blue, and red color scheme. More Illume and Chu here. And this is Mika. Another one of Illume's friends that is just a pink tiefling. It's from the D&D campaign. Just a pink tiefling, but he likes bears and he loves pink, and so Illume is like, he fits in the animal friends very well. He's a pink bear. I don't know why he's in a jar, but he is. More Illume and Chu, and just a bunny. This, I don't think it's actually meant to be Illume, but it's just a bunny. And I needed to use this bright pink more because I don't use it often. This little frog here, who is very chonky, is actually based on Lady Froggo, who's a frog that my D&D character Milan has. She has a bunch of frogs, and this one is based on her, but she's a lot cuter in this picture than she is in reality. She's a sassy little thing. And it was nearing the spooky season, so I decided to draw a little cat pumpkin. Leftover paints, just decided to see what happens with them, and this is what I got. A blurry landscape. Also leftover paints, and it's a yarn dog. Nothing more to say on that. Don't know what inspired that, but that's what happened. A yarn dog. This one I really like. Actually, I think this is one of my favorites in here, besides the bird one from earlier and from like the very first 3 pages. I think it's mostly because I freehanded this completely, and I love the way the colors look on this. Like, I just love that desaturated background, the desaturated jacket. Her hair is not very saturated, and everything. I like that a lot. This one was another one where I was just kind of putting colors down and then decided to draw around it to see what comes out of it, and it kind of looks like a person when I was doing it, so that is why it ended up being a person dancing. But yeah, no, I've been doing that a lot on this one, where I just put paint down and then see what happens, see what shapes I see, and then draw from there. And I actually need to go back to the front because this was done on October 19th and we're in November, so I kind of skipped over it. But this was just the first painting the first page I decided to do, which was just a person's face, like half a face. I really like to try to see if I can actually convey lighting. I think it came out alright. I think it came out better than my easy attempt, which if you saw my other sketchbook, then you would know that I was not entirely impressed with the Issy drawing that I did, where it was in a similar lighting. Back to where we were before. Just some sunset paintings. I really like painting sunsets. I really like painting skies. 2 of my favorite things to paint are skies / clouds and water. And so a sunset for this side, which was a warmer one, and this one is more like a sunrise, I guess. I like how it's not very focused, and the most focused thing are these birds. So I kind of like that. Next, we have a long one. This one is a moon one. So this one is a moon piece. I like this one quite a bit, mostly because I don't know why I like how desaturated the colors are, but I think it came out quite nicely. And then we have another one, which is the sun. Decided I had to do, if I did the moon, I had to do a sun one. And this one I like. It's kind of more cartoony. It's kind of more jovial, we would associate with that. So I kind of like that a little bit. So this is my character Junie. She's a deerkin. She's from D&D. I like her quite a lot. She's very cute. I don't really like this painting, but she's very cute. Yeah, this one I did while I was at my grandmother's. It was once again using my ultramarine set, so you know, things were a little bit wonky with this. And then another obligatory Kirby. More Illume. Just some Illume doodles. I like this one. I don't particularly like this one, but just wanted to paint, didn't know what to particularly do, so I just decided to paint Illume. This one is some weird landscape thing. I don't really know what's happening here. I just put paint down, decided to do it. I think it's supposed to be water and mountains. I'm not sure. Whatever you see is what it is. These are some bamboo. I like painting bamboo, and I just wanted to use these greens because I really love green. And I don't get to use it too much, and I wanted to pretend like there's a shadow, like it's casting a shadow on something, so that's why it looks like this, if you can see. Simple, I like it. This one was, I think, actually a gouache painting. I had some leftover gouache paints and decided to use them in here. I think after this page actually is the last, like, I don't use watercolor, like the last page I just showed was the last watercolor thing I did in here. But I like this one. I don't know what's happening here, but I like what's happening in here, and that's really all that matters. This is where I started testing out my Caran d'Ache oil pastel crayons that I have. I like working with them quite a bit. They do not work particularly well on cold press paper, I will say, because I didn't really like the feel of it on the cold press paper either. So that's just my opinion. I didn't really like the feel of it. I expect, I don't know, just different than what I got. The layering that you can do with oil pastels, I didn't get that with this. Another set of eyes. I apparently only really wanted to do eyes when I first did it. And this was actually me using water on the oil pastels, and I think it looks a lot nicer than what is happening over here. But I like both of these sets of eyes, so they look very nice. This one kind of gives me the Impressionist art style a little bit, with just the flowers and the water and the colors. It just reminds me a little bit of the Impressionist style, but that was not what I was originally going for when I did this. And then we just have a sunset. Like I said, I like painting sunsets, and apparently I also like doing them with oil pastels. A mountain and a sunset with oil pastels, once again still using Caran d'Ache. I like this one quite a bit, and I spent a decent amount of time on this trying to figure out the layering with this. And then I finally decided to just use this side for swatching and this side for the actual picture that I was doing, because I wouldn't have to worry about it smudging on the other side while I was actually working in the sketchbook. But another sunset. I guess this is actually more like a moon. I think I did a moon idea here. I like the colors. The colors are very nice. I really like my Caran d'Ache oil pastels. Don't let what I was saying where I said they feel different and they don't work. They don't work for me overly well on cold press paper. I do like them a lot. I use them a lot in my other sketchbooks. A sky. I think this is a moon. Some messy clouds. And this is flowers in front of a moon. Still using my oil pastels. I was really into using them in this sketchbook. I was really into trying to figure out how to use them, and I think they came out pretty good. And then we have my final page, which is half me just saying what I used in here, and then half actually doing a painting. I say there are two gouache. I think that Yarn Dog was a gouache painting, if I'm being honest. I think this was leftover gouache. think this was a yarn dog leftover gouache paint. But otherwise, yeah, I actually like this, even though it's just like a mini thumbnail. But I like this sketchbook. It's very loose, not anything too serious in here. Took me almost 3 months exactly. I think I started this on the 6th. Yeah, I started on the 6th and ended it on December 18th. Honestly, it's a fun little sketchbook. I don't usually work in sketchbooks this small, so this was also a nice little experience, but I like it a lot. And I believe I don't actually remember where I got this from, so I will link it down below. I know that I mentioned it in my 2025 year in review, so it's also in that video, but I will link this down below where I got it. It's from Etsy. Moving on to the next one. So we are once again going to have to skip the first page because I did it later. So this was actually the first painting that I did in here. I did this also at a coffee shop, and you can tell that this is the same kind of style of that bird in that smaller illustration, or that smaller painting in that sketchbook, where it's not very defined and it just looks like little blobs of paint, and I was just messing around. This is me taking a picture that I had taken with my phone and changing it so it was water instead of a barren landscape, because that's what's actually here. More of those kind of mountains and red sun kind of paintings that I mentioned before that I like to do. I think I probably did this at the same time as my last sketchbook, and if not, it was what inspired me to do it with this one. Pretty simple though, very blobby, not really well defined. This is some random girl that I decided to draw. I have no clue who she is. I just wanted to use these paint colors. And these are two red and blue birds. They are loosely based on two characters from D&D. You're gonna hear me say that so much. Where this blue bird is Genesis. Like I mentioned in the previous sketchbook, Genesis really loves birds, so he kind of has a little bird symbolism for him. And this is Kaze, who is his partner. He also has bird symbolism simply because Jin once made a painting of them as birds before they were officially together, and he was too embarrassed to show it to Kaze, and you know, it is what it is, but they're now officially together, so he can do these kind of paintings, so he never will again because he was so embarrassed the first time he did it. But I think this is a cute one. Once again, I seem to really enjoy doing these are water paintings, both of these, but I seem to really enjoy doing the lotus in the pond with lily pads. I seem to really enjoy that kind of painting, that kind of art. So we have another one of those over here. Very messy. It's fine. I don't know what happened here. You know what probably happened is I was doing this and the brush was just flicking water all over the place and it had the blue paint. But it has a nice little effect to this. I like the colors. I like the way the colors transition. This was done nicely. This one is also not so bad. I think I kind of messed up the perspective here a little bit. I always mess up the perspective with the lily pads. I never get these right. But I like it. And you can see the little fish that I tried to paint under the water as well. I like this one quite a bit. I honestly like most of the paintings that I did in this one quite a bit. Besides this one. So this one was just an orange lotus in water with yellow lighting. It's kind of loosely inspired on some of my older paintings that I did in my first Canson watercolor sketchbook. It was a watercolor graduate sketchbook, and I had done a bunch of paintings of water with dark blue and gold / yellow highlights, I think, or something like that. And I really like those paintings, so I tried to replicate that with watercolor. Didn't go so well, but then I decided to add a tiger. Also didn't go so well. I'm not very good with drawing animals. But it's supposed to be a tiger wading through the water, but obviously the perspectives are a little wonky. But then we get to this one, and I like this one a bit. I'm gonna focus in on this one a little bit more. So this one is a painting based on all the people in the Golden Serpent. So the Golden Serpent is a group in the D&D world, in the D&D campaign Shattered Memories that I'm in, They are a group of blood hunters that are very close to Kaze. They are very good friends with Kaze, and every single one of them has some sort of symbolism. Most of them have an animal symbolism with them, besides one of them. I could not figure out what that possibly could be, but this is related to Moriko, kind of loosely related also to her tiger Izumi, who is a water lily tiger. But she's also green, so I was like, we'll just say this is mostly Moriko, but they're both green, but I didn't feel like doing that. This wolf is Urena, because Urena is a werewolf. Bird is Genesis. The snake is Steris, as I've mentioned in the past. Bunny is Alume. The spider over here is Katla, and this little jar with the glowing in it represents loosely Koa, because Koa is a specter, so he's a little ghosty boy. But I like this one quite a bit. I like how the shimmers shimmer. Some loose paintings I did, I just doodled on the page and put paint down and was like, okay, let me see what happens. I really like how the red pops on this. I like the red a lot. And also in this one, I think it shows a lot nicer on camera. I always say that. I think it looks a lot nicer on camera than it actually does in person, but I quite like these a lot. I'm not very good at drawing animals, but I do like how this wolf came out, this little white wolf came out. More sunset paintings. This one was a very loose one that I did. I believe I did this at my grandmother's actually, because I believe these are my ultramarine watercolors, and surprisingly I like how this came out, even if it is in a very rough state. I like how it came out quite a bit. These are the two that I actually like a lot. I think these are with my Yasumoto watercolors, because the vibrancy that you get from those is just so astounding. I like them a lot. I really like these two scenes a lot. I think the colors look great. I especially like how the colors contrast in this one. It just came together so nicely. I love these two pages. I'm very proud of these. And I think I once again way past the date. We're in November and this was done, and I think I almost hit the exact same date range. It's another wolf wading through the water with some lily pads around, heading towards the moon reflection. Oh no, I was really into drawing wolves and animals in this sketchbook. I don't know why. That wasn't just a lume and a bear, because those are easy. But I really like this one. I like it because, I don't know, I like how rough it looks for the wolf, but it still gives a suggestion of a wolf. I really like it when I'm able to use watercolors in a way that it suggests something very clearly without putting too much effort into it. And then I did some more of those landscape paintings. These are not as nice as these, I will say. They kind of resemble the first ones that I showed, the first orange one that I showed. I still like these a lot. I wanted to do sunsets using different kind of colors, or sunrises. You know, I wanted to do them with different kind of colors. So this one was more of a green blue, and this one was more of a green and red, a blue and red. This one I wanted to do purple and blue, and this one is more of a green and yellow, greenish blue and yellow. So I like these. I think they came out nice even if they're very rough. It's a sketchbook for a reason. Speaking of bunnies and bears, here's an Alume and Mika painting that I did, and I wanted to use my blue acrylic pen, so that worked out. And then we have them in a lotus flower. I don't know. Not much to say on that one. This one is, once again, water. One thing about me is I'm going to paint some water. I wanted to do an underwater lily pad view, and I really like how this looks. I think this one came out very nicely. I'm very impressed with myself with this one, because I just freehanded this. I didn't know what I was going to do. When it finally came together, I was quite happy with it. This one's alright. It's just a beach. Nothing too impressive. I try to draw beaches, I think, paint beaches in almost every one of my sketchbooks, and they never turn out as well as the first one that I did in my Canson watercolor sketchbook, so I keep trying. It was also gouache, so that may also be a reason. Some bamboo. I like this one because I really like how it just kind of fades out on this side, very saturated on this side, fades out on this side. And we have this blue orange over here and just very bright blues over here. I love the blues here. Some funky little, I don't know what I was doing here. I genuinely have nothing to say on this one. I don't know what was happening. It was a landscape, and then for some reason, I think this was supposed to be like the water reflection, but I don't know. This one is a gouache painting that I did with leftover gouache that I had from doing a session in my square dedicated gouache notebook. This one is kind of loosely based on D&D. Like I said, you're going to hear me say that. Where it's kind of based on, this is a little crow, and these are two people holding hands saying goodbye. This is kind of this manner in the background that I did poorly, but it is what it is. But it's kind of based on two characters, Rowan and Nazo, who have a kind of distant relationship, long distance relationship. They see each other every now and again, but they don't see each other that often. And, you know, saying goodbye is always bittersweet because they love each other and they want to see each other, but, you know, they don't. And this little crow is stays with Rowan. It's technically my character, Sylvia's bird, but stays with Rowan because she hadn't vanished and all that jazz. You know the drill. And Rowan has been taking care of it along with Nazo because Nazo loves that bird like it is his son. But I really like just the colors. I like the use of red to pop things out. I like it. It tells a nice little story. This one was once again using some leftover paints from a different painting session. These are teaser paints, and they did not have a lot of colors left. So because of that, I ended up using my pinks a lot to try to use that as the pop color. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but I think it worked well here. Yeah, this one is a sunset that I did, once again, with gouache paints. It was alright, I don't hate it, but I decided to use this side for just the swatching, which I think is okay. I started doing that more often. I kind of like having the clouds kind of burst out of this painting, so. Some bunnies and some plants. I don't know what compelled me to do this, but I don't hate it. I like it. I think it's nice. It's a pretty simple illustration, but I like it quite a bit. And this one is once again a little bit of a messy sunset with some mountains. I think I did this actually better in my square sketchbook. I think I redid this like exact same sketchbook or exact same painting in my square sketchbook, so you may see something that looks similar to this in the future. And this one is a kind of messy forest painting. I like it quite a bit. The colors are a little bit messy, yeah. Colors are a little bit messy, but I still think it came out alright. All these are gouache. I started swatching gouache on this side. So, this was an acrylic pen illustration. I used my friends at a coffee shop's acrylic pens that they had, acrylic markers that they had. I don't know what brand they were. They were cheap. They're now one of the brands that people use all the time. But I still like this. I think it's cute. I think it came out alright. I enjoyed using the acrylic pens, so that's also something. I did a series of paintings with just this kind of theme, just following this guy. I wanted to use the red as a kind of pop color, and I think it came out alright. You are crossing over this mountain where the sun is, and then on this side you see the sun kind of pouring over this kind of cloud river thing, and it's pouring into this bowl for this woman that is trying to catch it, and this guy is once again in the background, and you see that there's a bunch of stuff in this golden ocean where the sun is basically pouring stuff down the mountain. And we continue from there to these series paintings, more mountains, almost like an eclipse happening here. And then we have our pond where people are reaching their hands out of it with a lot of red happening here. There's a story here. I'm not going to tell it. And then this final one is the guy that has been seen in literally every single one. Some sort of ascension is happening here, and all the hands and the sacrifices. One of these days I do want to dedicate a sketchbook to kind of be a storybook. I've been toying around with them with my character Amon, because I love him a lot. I've invested a lot of time into him, so I may. And honestly, he's kind of similar to this concept, so we'll see. This is where I started doing some more, I don't know, animal drawings, where I just kind of like the idea of trying to do something that kind of resembled stained glass art. This one does not, but it translates into the rest of them. But I really like this one. I like the bird. I think it came out quite nicely. It's a little bit random, but I like it. And then I do that with this one too, and I did use oil pastels on this one. So I had a theme here. This was the sun, and this was supposed to be like the moon, star, night sky type thing. So that's why they are kind of opposites like that. And this is obviously a crow. And this is another one. This bright moon behind it. I like how bright the moon actually looks. I like how it pops from this. This effect normally does not work for me. But otherwise, I really like the bird. I think the bird came out really nicely. I think the colors come out really nicely. And it is a mix of oil pastels and watercolors, I will say that. This is my stained glass fish, and I like this. I like this one a lot. I think it pops quite a bit. I don't usually do this style, but I've always really liked this style. It's nice to kind of see it come to fruition here. I don't usually use this style too much, but I like it. And now we have the stained glass fish heading towards the sun. I wanted to use my yellows. This is what I got. Nothing too much to say, but I like these last few illustrations and paintings that I did in here. And then we have stained glass whale and manta ray, all in the astral vein. You know I love my celestial bodies, you know I like my astral stuff, so this is then, I guess, in like an astral sea, I guess you could say. I quite like this one too. I think this one is my favorite of the ones that I've done in my last batch. And then I did a jellyfish. I wanted to use my yellows and greens again. I said I needed to. And I wanted to use my gold acrylic pen that I had. I think this is actually my gold shimmer paints, and I think it came out quite nicely. I wanted to once again continue that kind of stained glass appearance, but I don't know if it came out as well. And then my final illustration is this painting of my character Karu. I actually uploaded this illustration. It is me using my kuretake paints, and I think it came out quite nicely. I think it looks pretty good, I must admit. Quite happy with how this one came out. I'm not very good. I haven't drawn any just characters in the sketchbook, so I had to finish it out with one, and I think this one came out quite nice. I love it a lot. And I finished this in January 16th. Don't really hate any of the illustrations in here. All of them are either cute sketches or weird little things that came out in a decent way that I actually like how it looks, so can't really complain. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.